Hello, Galaxy. I am going to do something that may be considered somewhat dangerous, and that is not talking and driving. I always do that. Wildly gesticulating while I'm talking and driving, because I usually do that, even if nobody's in the car, because that's basically what's been happening. I did get my C-3PO, by the way. I did get it, and a couple other things on sale. I'm very, very happy about. I think this was like 20 bucks, 15 bucks or something originally, and I'm like, no way, $5. Yeah! So I got a an R2-D2 tool set. I got a Boba Fett card deck tin, brand new, for like $3, which is again about half off. But I did pay full price for the C-3PO figure. But I used a gift card, so it's all okay. There we go. See, 3PO, and I even found a Gartham figure in box that I didn't even realize were being sold, like independent of the Kira with wings. But yeah, got that too, and very happy that I not only used a coupon but also a gift card. So I'm making sure that I'm not damaging that C-3PO card, because that's the reason why I wanted this C-3PO, because the as you might remember, the C-3PO in the box was like curve bent, that they said they'd send a replacement for, but I didn't really want to push it. I asked if they were serious about it. I hadn't heard a reply, and I'm like, well, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, just want to take care of it, put it in storage and whatnot. So we had another meeting today for GalaxR, and it was just Slav, myself, and the city, and we were talking through, you know, the directions that, you know, we could go. We're just looking for a couple of leads specifically that would give us an opportunity to do a pop-up event at you know, a couple of local places. But we just are finding that by doing outreach, even in having a qualified contact at a couple of other local businesses, it's not that they're slamming the door shut, you know, in our faces or anything. It's just that they're not really responding. You know, they're not interested. They just don't understand it. It's not that we had an unqualified ask necessarily. Oh, by the way, the reason why this is dangerous is because I kind of know where I am and kind of don't at the same time. So in about 7 minutes or so, 7 or 8 minutes, I'm gonna have to turn left, and I gotta pay attention to the signs, because I'm in somewhat unfamiliar territory. So that's why it's dangerous, because I could get lost on the way home with the GPS. Like, I guess I do have another GPS. It's just that I hate using the car's GPS because it's a piece of shit. So anyway, on our way out, I kicked the Slav. You know, I said, you know, I keep going back to an idea that I actually had a conversation with someone who was local about, and actually had a deep conversation, and she actually thought it was somewhat of a valid idea. And even after that, this is before the first GalaxR happened, she didn't come, and she was sick, and it wasn't a big deal. I said, no big deal. It was a little far away for her. That's how people are in Seattle. Like, if it's a half hour, it's too far away. I'm like, dude, I'm from Iowa. Like, that's normal. So anyway, I'm looking at the time. Sorry, I gotta make sure I don't miss my turn. In fact, let's get in the left lane. On the way out, I told Slav, like, you know, I talked to somebody. She's had experience in setting up nonprofits, and that's kind of what we would need, because I don't really have any experience in it. And I guess my concept would be swimming around that the things that we need, the things that I'd like to do, the things that I have fun with. And the reason why I'm talking about this with y'all right now is because it actually kind of came to mind as I was going through this mall down there. I walked past an Apple store twice, and I thought to myself, you know, it's been about 3 years since I intentionally walked past an Apple store without feeling any want, need, or desire to go in. And I could say the same thing for a radio store, for any kind of technology store. I just have an aversion to them, really. It's just the way it is. And I mean, that years ago didn't happen, right? If I was there, I'm like, I'll take a look, see what they got, see what's new, you know, just check it out, you know, I'm there. But I didn't want to waste my time in looking, because quite honestly, 2 miles, so I got 2 miles to go, and then I can do this. I don't know if you can hear the GPS talking but it says I got 2 miles. So anyway, my concept for a nonprofit organization, oh man, I got this yawn that's got to come out. Wags around the idea of GalaxR, and not necessarily a pop-up event, because yes, as much as I would love to find a place that would be affordable, affordability is like in the dozens of dollars, not hundreds of dollars, right? Especially when you're trying to spin up a new entity. And there's just no space that could effectively accommodate it, that's just not outrageous, or that just doesn't fit the scope of what type of event I might want to do. So I thought, you know, I like buying things, you know, pop culture-y things, and I've had to narrow it down to just Star Wars stuff, even though I did get the Gartham, that is very obviously a Dark Crystal figure. You know, I have to be very careful about it because I only have so much space. So I enjoy it. I just enjoy, you know, seeing what's there in the idea of collecting and enabling that, right? But not sitting on inventory. I'm not someone who wants to necessarily sell. Like, I could probably do that on eBay, but you'd have to turn around tens of thousands of dollars, you know, quickly, and just deal with people. It's just like, I don't know, dude. It's not, I don't know if that's a proposition for me. I'd much rather enable others and find my role there, in much like I did with GalaxR, which we did with GalaxR. We've got 30. Oh crap! Whoop! Guess gotta be in the right lane. See ya. I really gotta pay attention to the directions. Okay,
in
I'm taking the exit.
Turn left onto Issaquah.
I turned left at the exit. But I don't know if this is the same way I took last time. I think I gotta take another left turn up here. Anyway, so I know I don't want to sell necessarily. I know I want to, you know, stay in the realm of like Star Wars stuff and Star Wars and fun and pop culture and, you know, comic and collectible and toys, that kind of realm. And I know that I have, you know, some degree of understanding of being an enabler, or basically having a platform upon which others can be successful.
Turn left onto
So anyway, as there's the yawn. There's the yawn I was looking for. Okay, so sorry, buddy. The concept is if around a nonprofit entity wherein the nonprofit status allows us, affords us certain opportunities. One, we can drive profit and we can drive revenue. Nonprofit does not mean not profitable, but it affords you certain opportunities, including startup capital, like by the way of grants, basically. And so, as a concept, GalaxR isn't just an event. It can happen anywhere. All we need is just basically a space and willingness, right? So it's just kind of like the idea of pursuing the model wherein we can host an event anywhere, and it just takes time to build that awareness. But the problem is that you've got to be able to afford the venue, right? So you either get lucky, and then you've got to coordinate, and then you've got to push people to it, et cetera, and it kind of comes back to really missing or not having some kind of physical front for an event space. So GalaxR as a concept could either continue as an event series wherein the profits could potentially be funneled back into the hyperlocal community wherein it happens to be hosted. But the problem with that is, well, how do you pay the people? How do you pay to keep it going, right? How does it afford to stay moving, right? And that takes people, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes revenue, right? So if we had a physical front wherein we could host the event, but also effectively not necessarily sublet it, but allow it or enable it to be a space wherein others could host an event in the vein of pop culture-y community, right? Geeky, nerdy type of community, right? So imagine, if you will, we've got I don't know what the square footage would be, right? The space, but let's say sizable enough that you could get initially like 20 vendors in, right? And on the weekends, if you had this space, it would be a place where 20 vendors would be selling their wares, a couple bucks at the door or whatever, and then people could go in and, you know, basically do what we did at GalaxR's, you know, buy and sell pop culture stuff from local vendors, right? But then that space would be largely sitting potentially unused, so you would have stuff that you could resell, much like you might at maybe a consignment type of store. Maybe it's more like a donation center. But the donations that we would take would specifically be... Oh, God, hang on. It said I could have a faster route. Anyway, so the donations could be... Oh, God. And I don't have my Bluetooth on. Hang on, just a second. Okay, Bluetooth's on. Because I need to mirror the maps. Unless it's not... Really? I got Bluetooth on both places, and it's not picking up the watch. The watch is synchronizing the map's directions. Because that's what it should do. Okay, so I guess I'm going to hope that I don't miss the next turn. Well, I assume it's going to warn me. I think the next turn is actually at a stoplight. So anyway, so it could be a front where we're either selling on consignment, toys, pop culture, collectibles, etc., or, you know, just selling to funnel back into the nonprofit organization. And we could also have that space that if we're not basically leasing it to vendors, we could be letting people podcast there and have an audience, right? Or, you know, host their own event. Like, we don't necessarily need to do the event, but it could be like a micro events or small events for entities that are people who are just getting started. Like, oh, I want to do a comic event, right? But I can't afford to do it here, there, wherever. I'm like, well, we would be able to effectively lease you that space for a fraction of the cost. So we could actually become a part of the community, enable commerce within the community, and enable other entrepreneurs who are specifically, you know, like-minded, like pop culture. Like, you would have to fit that mold of, you know, what you want to do is like a cosplaying event, or a chess tournament, you know what, something geeky, right? And you could do these in 1,000 different places, right? But just enabling it to happen in that one space, in that one center, specifically for someone who's entrepreneurially minded, and being that connection point to help drive awareness. That's the thing, is like, you can do an event somewhere else, but then you're on your own for marketing. But if that event center was very much tied into the same ethos and the mindset of the people who would go, any event that you would hold there, they'd probably be interested in, versus going to an average event center and they don't care what events they host as long as they're hosting an event. So my thought is the nonprofit organization, if I can find someone who could help, who has experience with doing this kind of stuff and knows how to set this kind of stuff up, I think going a nonprofit route with GalaxR, I think, would help us accomplish certain goals. And hang on just a second. Is it gonna... Oh, crap. I don't know if this is the turn. It doesn't say this is the turn. Okay, I'm gonna keep going straight. Oh, boy. So, we'd be able to accomplish our goals in the sense that, well, we can do an event, and we could, pop culture, be in the middle of the pop culture buying and selling. We would have a space that we could use for the event. We have a space that could be used by any event coordinator if it fit that construct. We have a space that could, lend itself to buying and selling, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily, like I said, driven on donations, which of course we would absolutely. I think that's and I don't know the validity either way of going consignment versus going donation route, because that's another concept that would lend itself more to a commercial venture or a less nonprofit venture, or potentially be an adjunct to the nonprofit venture. So if it was consignment, instead of just whatever, to sell whatever, just keep it specific on selling pop culture stuff on consignment, meaning you only make money if it gets sold, right? I think that's the concept of consignment. But then it falls back to the problem that I don't have any experience in I want to say that was the turn I needed to take. Okay. I really think I needed to take that turn. But it says go straight, so I'm gonna go straight. I may have to wrap up the video soon. Anyway, so I'm thinking through the processes by which that concept can find fruit. And it may be trying to find someone who has far more experience than me in these types of situations. But I still fall back on a non-profit entity hosting events for the community, specifically pop culture-y types of events in the community. That's the foundation. Separate from that, maybe even fueling into that foundation would be a consignment shop for pop culture stuff, right? You know, you wouldn't necessarily have to sell it. You would just resell it. Everybody makes money, right? We only make money if you make money. You only make money if we make money. That kind of thing. So maybe consignment is the foundation, but then you got to find a space that you could afford. And that's real estate, man. I feel that both of these things could be complementary to one another, and I feel that going the nonprofit route for the center is the way to begin. That's my feeling. Okay, I'm gonna let you go because I don't know if I'm lost.